everybody. This is Stephen McManus with the Coastal Collective Group. The Collective is a podcast that we put out there with our real estate team to highlight entrepreneurs, local leaders, inspirational businessmen, and just folks in our community that really just, I feel, need a voice. Yeah, we're a real estate team. Yeah, we hustle. Yeah, we take really good care of our clients, but that's not why we're doing this. Why we're doing this is to show people our characters, what's inside.
That's good.
As a team and our culture, pushing this out there to the masses. So Morris and I met at the gym. I seen him there a couple of times hustling.
I thought I was very respectful how you approached me. And I was like, yo, this dude's a real one. Like, I could tell right away you were confident, you were sure, you were certain. And I'd seen you around the gym. And then even if I'd seen you at Seacoast before, I will see someone at the gym and I'm like, man, did I see him at church last week? Because we got thousands of people around us. Yeah. And so you just approached, and it was recently after I had preached, and you just said some nice things, and I really appreciated that. And I'm gonna tell you something, a lot of people don't understand that even if you're a professional communicator, we always wanna know, did I make a difference? Did I make an impact? Man, I just thank you for being respectful of even how you approach me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because sometimes I have the resting, you know what face. So I never know if the way that I'm perceived is kind or not. But
hey, I will tell you, you're a lot nicer than I thought.
Oh, sweet.
I've seen you at the gym before, like getting after it. And you're focused when you're in the gym. Yeah. You getting after it, I'm focused. And some days I don't want nobody talking to me either, because I'm like, I got to get this. Actually, the truth is, I'm looking for a reason for somebody to stop me from doing my workout. I'm looking for a reason to be lazy. So when I'm real focused, I'm getting in it. And times that I've seen you before, I'm like, yo, this dude's a beast. He's getting after it. And you're gritty, determined, you're in it. And I've seen you focus. So now that I'm getting to know you, I'm like, this dude's a gentleman. I thought he was a killer, like a stone cold killer. Got the bald head, got the little shoes. Hey, y'all got, if you listen to this on audio somewhere, you got to find the video online, because you got to see the shoes. He got the shoes. See, this I'm finding out that he's a nice guy. This dude, seriously, you're a gentleman, man. And I like that, because that's called balance, bro. You can flip that switch when you need to.
I'll tell you what did that. So the warrior mindset was the Marines. The kindness was my daughter. She softened me, man.
London Bridge is falling down. London got the bridge is falling down.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
right.
Shout out to Gwen's for these shoes, by the way. Gwen's Mount Pleasant.
Now tell me, you trying to tell me, I bet you paid for those shoes at Gwen's.
I paid for them, yeah.
We ain't shouting out no Gwen's. Hey, Gwen's, y'all start sending my boys some fresh outfits and double-breasted Italian suits for $5 and $10 grand a piece. Then we're going to give y'all a plug on the next show. How about that? But now Gwen's,
they're
Gwen's
legit.
Is dope. I got a story about Gwen's in a little bit. Right. You're going to cry when you hear it, I'm sure. It's a deep story, bro.
Like Morris was saying, I saw him from time to time at the gym. I'm there a lot. I work, go to the gym, spend time with my daughter, some friends, some men's groups. But I've seen him there a few times, infectious energy. And then one Sunday I sat in the front row at Seacoast, and Morris happened to be preaching that Sunday. And it was a different sermon. It wasn't like your typical, all right, now open to Luke 4:10. It's like,
Are you in the front row that? You never told me that.
Second or something. I was like right up there.
Yeah.
And this dude like ran on stage. I remember you came on stage, you were like, don't sit down. I'm like, ooh, all right.
Ooh.
Yes, sir.
I took command of the audience.
Attention. I'm like, I'm back in the Marine Corps.
And the Marine guy, and you responded, you like this. He just took command of the audience.
Yeah, there was command, there was presence.
That's right. Yeah.
Something different.
Which, by the way, is a professional speaking tip.
Yeah.
That is something that can be trained. When I teach engagement skills, we'll talk about this in a little bit. I had to learn how to take command of my own life, because I just didn't have help. I didn't have parents. I was orphaned twice. And so I just realized, once you learn how to take command of yourself, your self-control, your self-discipline, and how you treat people, it's easy to take command of a sales team, of a business, produce products for your customer. It's all intertwined. If I seemed a little different that day, even walking on stage at a church, it's because that's just how I am all the time. And what's crazy, Stephen, is that people who are not in a relationship with me may think, man, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? But as soon as they're in a relationship with me, they know I'm the one that you're going to call if you need something, because I consistently show up for my loved ones, people I care about. And if you're in my circle, you're in my circle. And that's just how I roll. Yeah. Sorry if I seemed like a little bully that day on stage.
No, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a good attention getter. But the reason I bring that up is because I'm still growing in my faith. This isn't me where I need to be. There's no finish line to your pursuit of God. And
that's good.
And when I saw you, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
Or
almost a year ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks will be a year ago.
That message. 3 to 5 years, I'll put it, is when I started my like sincere growth journey towards God. I didn't know what God was. I wasn't picturing the Hollywood Jesus. I wasn't picturing that. I was picturing an orb. I'm like, there is a creator somewhere. I had to first grasp that.
Wait, but time out. I don't know anything you just said. I love this.
Yeah, but
what's Hollywood Jesus and
Hollywood
what's orb?
Jesus
Tell me this.
is the guy, just the stud wearing the robe with the hair down to his shoulders.
Yeah.
Perfectly groomed goatee, mustache, all that stuff.
Yeah. Probably ain't had no body odor or nothing back then.
No, nothing.
Even though they ain't had deodorant.
Nothing.
They ain't had deodorant back then, but Jesus ain't had no BO or nothing.
No.
Now, what's orb? Would you say?
I don't know.
I've never heard that word. I like it, dude. You dropping fresh words today.
What I mean is just, was it energy? Is it human flesh? Is it like what created us? And I subscribe to the Bible, but sometimes I like to like just push all of that out. I want to push it all out. And I want to say, if I'm completely blind, even in my imagination, there is a God, and whatever you look like, whoever you are, I want a relationship with you. So I ask you to speak to me, to show me who you are. And that's where I was in my journey, man. And I saw you and I'm like, okay, this breaks all the stereotypical preaching stuff from what I see all the time. And I'm like, that's fresh. And that's what we need. We need relatable stuff coming from like someone who is sincerely seeking God and who is admired as a leader in a church. So it was something, man, I don't know. I saw you in the gym a few times. I had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
I don't form thoughts around people just by seeing them a few times, but I didn't think twice. Then I saw you in church. I'm like, that's the dude at the gym that just looked like a regular dude who was getting it.
Yeah.
And but he's got like some serious inspiration in his blood.
And you're thinking, where's that come from? Who is this guy?
Where's that coming from? Yeah.
And when you approach me at the gym, you're like, man, let's get coffee. You're like, I want to hear your story, man. Because you even acknowledged then that whatever it was about me, good or bad, you're like, I need to know where this is flowing from. Where is this flowing from?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So, it's like a never ending. I felt you had so much more on stage. You got off stage. I'm like, this guy's got, that was just like, he's bubbling over. So there's a lot in that bucket.
Yeah.
I want to tap into.
You're in my overflow theory, which we'll talk about.
Definitely want to hit that.
The importance of overflow. Yeah.
Morris, man, I really appreciate you being here, brother. It means a lot to me that you took the time out to reply, get to know me, have a couple conversations, and then just be here sitting with me, talking with our listeners. All right, before we dive in, nice cup,
a little wink out there. If you're listening to this somewhere, you can't hear the wink, but it sounds like that.
Let's get it, brother.
Yeah, a little toast with the Coastal Collective. Let's get it. Before you read my introduction, I'm going to say this, man. Setup you have in here.
Please.
This studio is amazing.
Thank you, bro.
And I'm a freak for details. And any of y'all who listen to this, who've been in my studio, who recorded content with me, they know that I am anal about everything. Bruh, I started to suspect the more I got to know you that we would have a lot in common. You and I couldn't be more the same person. Then hearing your story and then seeing what type of father you are for London, man, not enough words can express to me like how I feel about seeing you, the joy that you get when you talk about your daughter and the man that you are. That's a real man to me, bro.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
too.
man.
Right back at you, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Let's get into it. I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
So I want people to understand who's sitting across from me. I know we just talked him up a little bit, but that doesn't do him any justice. I don't have something wildly inspiring here, but I did put together a few words. Yeah. So I'm just going to read it because we're being real.
Yeah.
I didn't memorize it.
Yeah. No, don't fake it.
Morris Morrison is a world-class speaker and the CEO of Windmill Park Media. His story, from being orphaned to becoming one of the most electric voices in leadership, culture, and purpose, has inspired audiences from Fortune 100 companies, we'll get more into that, to global conferences, to pro sports organizations. He's built brands, written books, and made it his mission to wake people up to the life they're called to live.
That's right.
And today, he's here to go deeper with us. Morris, welcome to the collective, sir.
No doubt.
Let's get into it.
Collective. Let
My
me get
first
one more
question,
toast.
bro.
One more toast. And I like that go deeper, man, because it's easy to read somebody's introduction. Somebody read my introduction. Every time I step on a big stage at a big event anywhere in the world, someone reads an introduction before I come to the stage. And that's great because people are thinking, who's this guy? He looks like John Legend a little bit, but his personality reminds me of Will Smith a little bit. Like I hear that all the time. Yeah. I hear it all the time. And they're like, who is he? What was interesting is when you walk on the right stage, people aren't questioning who you are anymore because they're like, he must be someone because he's on this stage at this event that I paid to be at, or this venue that they won't just let anybody on stage. And it took years to build a brand like this. And it was painful and it hasn't been easy. But I knew this wasn't going to happen overnight.
Yeah, it didn't. But I think it came from authenticity because Dude, you know how many people I talk to every day? The authenticity factor is the magnet, I think, that's pushing you out there.
Tell me about that then. So you talk to a lot of people every day. What's authenticity to you? Because we have these transactional, when we're talking about transactions, we have these transactional relationships with people, transactional conversations where we want something from someone or they got to sign documents or email this. But then every now and then, maybe once a week, you'll have a transformational conversation with someone that's unforgettable. To you, what's the difference there? What's the authenticity piece?
Yeah. So authenticity to me is you have to be really self-aware. You have to know.
There you go.
You have to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you can't be authentic. So I just see a lot of people out there who are so caught up in, all right, culture tells me I need to be, I'm a father, so culture tells me I need to be this. I'm a friend in this neighborhood, so I have to be this.
Yeah.
Or this is my profession, so I have to be this.
Yeah.
I have to say and do and look like this. And I get it because we have to survive, and that's a template to where we can be successful in most instances. But people who are super self-aware, who have done the shadow work, if you will, who have done the work behind the scenes and know themselves, they net out at this. I gotta be myself. And if that means I repel people away, then so be it.
Yeah, let's go.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to magnetize people to me who are supposed to be in my tribe, who are supposed to be in my world.
That's right.
And it's the people who I think have a lot of insecurities who have to fit a certain template because they're worried about how many friends am I collecting? How many followers am I collecting?
Yeah.
So what I say all the time to my team is authenticity is the biggest magnet. And what does a magnet have? It's got two sides.
It attracts and it repels,
So you are going
baby.
exactly. You're going to attract and you're going to repel. And that's a good thing.
That's a great
attract
thing.
and repel.
That's a great thing.
So I see you, and I think the authenticity for you, you just seem like you don't really care if people love you or not because you're being authentic, and the people who do love you see it.
Hey, listen, man, you'll learn more about my story. I'm going to tell you about this attraction repel. My mother was white, dad was black, born in New York City. Mother was a prostitute. My father was her pimp. They got in trouble with the mafia in New York City and was told that if they didn't get me out of New York, then we were all going to die. Thankfully, they knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a lady in the country in a small town in West Virginia. Shout out 26554-304. Fairmount, West Virginia. What's up, Dub V? Matter of fact, I just found out last week, I just got voted into the 2026 Hall of Fame class at West Virginia University. Hall of Fame, baby. Sick. And I get the ceremonies next month. And it's weird for me because my boys, my dogs, my crew, they're like, "What? You didn't play sports at WV? What are you Hall of Fame for?" I'm like, "I guess I'm Hall of Fame for being Momo. I don't know, but I know. I know this. I'm in this year where it's great to get not nominated, but accepted to the 2026 Hall of Fame class. But I'm also nominated this year for Hall of Fame for the National Speakers Association. These are the two highest awards in my industry that I could get. And so I'm thinking, like, in my 40s, like, why would God bless me with that type of recognition now? What is he trying to do? Here's what I think. I think that our world is changing fast around us, and we need leaders around us who are changing and growing as fast as AI is. The problem, Stephen, and you know this, is humans are not going to reinvent themselves and transform at the rate that AI is. And that's why if I was AI, I would try to make us humans as irrelevant as possible and get us out of the way soon, right? Because humans are terrified of change and growth. Me, lost parents in New York City early. And then the family that, by the way, after they got me to West Virginia as a kid, the lady, she adopted me. Her name was Gwendolyn. So that's why I told you every time I pass Gwen's and in Mount Pleasant, I get a little emotional. A lady named Miss Gwen raised me. So that's a very special name for me. She raised me. One of her sons was like my dad. And then as a teen, on my birthday, which was just December 4th, he was falsely accused of shooting another black man in the hand. And it was not a crime that he committed. Falsely accused. He was given almost 100 years in prison for shooting a guy in the hand. And they took him on my birthday, and she died a few weeks later. This is my grandma. The lady's my everything. I was orphaned a second time. I'll tell you something. When I walked to the car that night, I had a neighbor who came up to pick me up at the hospital. I couldn't even have a ride home. And when I walked down to the parking lot to leave, I turned and I looked up at the 8th room of my grandmother's hospital room. And it was the last room on the right side. And I saw them when they cut the light out in her room. And with the flip of a switch, I knew everything in my life just changed. Now, here's the good news. As a teen, I'd already been on my own roughly since I was about 8 years old. Because my grandmother, she was a strong black woman. She's big woman, big mama, grandma. She could cook.
Big mama.
She could praise. She loved Jesus. And she would smack you in the face so hard that you thought you got hit by Mike Tyson if you disrespected her. This is when grandmas were grandma.
Good.
And this is when people have more respect. Shout out to the big mamas out there. Shout out to the mamas out there still smacking their kids, because you can't just follow your kids around the world to every soccer and every baseball travel tournament from age 11 to 18. And then the little crumb snatchers get to college. They don't even play sports no more. They drop out. They become an electrician or a welder, and they become a millionaire doing that. And you just realize you spent your whole life for 8 years doing travel ball. Listen, what I'm trying to say is there's nothing wrong with that. But I like when parents are reminded that they are the leader. And you can't give your kid everything. Matter of fact, studies are starting to show that the less you give your kids, the more self-awareness they're going to develop when you tell them no. One of the critical, essential developments for development of a child.
Yeah, and boredom.
It's how often they hear the word no, and how often they're allowed to spend time alone by themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? That's critical. So for me, basketball did that for me. Basketball saved my life, Stephen, because as a kid, I could hoop, and I was never the tallest. I was never strongest. I couldn't dunk. I was never the fastest, but nobody was going to outwork me. Like I would guard this 6'5", 6'7" guy. If he was scoring too many points against us, I would just, whoever was guarding him, I'd just say, I'm guarding him now. I'd elbow him in the stomach. I'd get on his nerves. I'd foul him when he tried to rebound. I'd get on his nerves. I'd be so tenacious. That's what tenacity is, right? Yeah. That like the guy, even though he towered over me and I was small, he knew I was there.
And you got him here.
And once he knew I was there, bro, I was in his head. And now that I'm in his head, he's not going to care if he lets me score a couple points here and there. Before you know it, he blinks. We won the game, right? I learned early in sports that life is about mindset, but I learned specifically because I had 2 sets of parents taken from me that I had to determine the character that I was going to play in my own movie someday. Let me tell you why I find that interesting. As Christians, we pursue Christ-like character. The reason why I think we get to dominate and why we're chosen to dominate the world is because the moment we say, I believe this guy Jesus actually died for me, that brings in, the moment we have that belief in Christ, it brings in every other truth in the Bible, and it makes it real for us. What does that mean? So if you're going to believe that Jesus died for you, then we also got to go Old Testament. We also got to get to one of my life verses, which is Jeremiah 1:5, which is, hey, Stephen, God chose you. He blessed you. He anointed you. He set you apart. He put you and he knew you even before he put you in your mother's womb. He gave you a plan and a purpose and intention for your life. Okay, hold on. Do you know how much for me when I first read that as a teenager? Struggling because we didn't have money. I didn't have parents. And I remember the first time I got like a Bible and I flipped it halfway through and some of the print was red in the Bible. I was like, why is some of this red? And then somebody said, oh, the red, that's where Jesus was talking. And I was like, I don't understand. And somebody said, no, Morris, when you flip halfway through the Bible, you get to the New Testament. I said, new, what's wrong with the old? I like the old. What's wrong with the old? They said, well, the new is when he came. Who's he? What are we talking about? It's where Jesus died on the cross for you, but he beat the graves when he rose. So you got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and the other gospels, and you got Paul's half of the New Testament, their account of life with Jesus. I stopped. I said, are you telling me if I read this part of my Bible, I can read red letters that shows exactly what Jesus said? People are like, yeah, why are you? I'm like, are you for real? You're not lying to me. You mean he really said that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, to me, that was AI before I heard of AI. The most revolutionary piece of technology that changed my life was the idea that in a printing press, somebody printed a book called a Bible, and halfway through, they shifted letters and they colored it red. So listen, before I knew anything about faith, I just flipped the Bible halfway open. And I started in Matthew and I got past chapter 1 and chapter 2, his lineage and everything of his family and all the names. I was like, I don't care about all that. As soon as I got to chapter 3 in Matthew, and then I started learning other aspects of the book of Matthew, the Beatitudes. And then I started to learn Jesus' word of how he said he expects guys like you and I to live. Overnight, there was a character that was created in my mind about the man that I could be one day. Yeah. And when I say character, I'm in Hollywood. I'm an entertainer. I'm on the big stages of the world. I'm going to tell you, they pay millions of dollars a year to Hollywood writers to create fictional characters on paper. Why? Because movies aren't written. What happens is there's a character sketch of a character. It's called the hero's journey. A character that they create who's a guy or a girl who has a problem and the problem must be solved. And if this person solves this problem, they become the hero. It's called the hero's journey. And within that journey, there's always a conflict. For me, the moment I found out that Jesus already died for me, that means I would not have a conflict. He solved the conflict for me. So at that moment, as I read the New Testament and Jesus' word, I started to see a connect the dots picture of a man, a strong man who was going to be married, who would be a father, who would show up and serve other people, who would dominate, who would lead and dominate everything that I did, not for me, so that I could dominate and build me stronger so that my overflow would bless other people. Because I read God's word and it said, Morris, this is how you're supposed to live. You're supposed to live so that you can be in God's kingdom, so you can be a blessing to other people. That's a character that I drew of myself at an early age. I'm nowhere close to it, but I'm closer than I was when I was 16. And you know what? I'm going to die still trying to chase that character. So when people ask me, they're like, yo, who are you? What do you do? You're like a motivational speaker. You like preach, you like write books. I'm like, dude, I'm an actor. And what do you mean? I said, man, because there's just a role that I'm pretending that I'm playing. And hopefully one day I'll get close to being that guy. And that's how I live my life.
I like that.
Yeah, you like, that's good.
I like that.
That's dope, man. That's dope.
That was dope.
So therefore, when you sin and when you fall, you're going to repent. You ask God for forgiveness, or these daily things that, you got men and women listening. They're just like me. Y'all have failed. And then tomorrow is Wednesday. Y'all going to fail again. You can be like, why do I keep failing? That's because that's the character's journey also. God knew we would have this journey where our sin would always try to trap us and keep us down, because there's also an evil one called a devil. So because God knew that, he needed to send his own Jesus to cover us and to protect us for that. So now, here's the biggest lesson I learned during COVID. I was on Daniel Island walking every day with my shirt off because I refused to shelter in place, because I knew naturally that vitamin D that you get from the sun has always been one of the healthiest things. So I said,
100%.
I'm just going to walk every day with my shirt off. And so I was at Bishop England High School, walking with my shirt off every day and just taking conference calls on my AirPods. And one day I just felt the Holy Spirit say, hey, Morris, you just don't get it, do you? Like, what I do now? Failing every day. What did I do now? I'm in trouble again. What did I do? And I felt God speak to me in one of the most audible voices I've heard in a long time. He said, you have no idea how much I love you. And I was like, God, what are you thinking? Like, why is God saying this to me? I was like, God, I know you love me. He said, no, you don't. I'm like, how do you know that I don't know how much you love me? How do you know this? He said, Morris, because every time you make a mistake and you fall, you stay down for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Sometimes weeks it takes you to get back up when you fall. I'm like, what is he goes, Morris, I knew you would fall every single day. He said, so if you knew how much I loved you, here's what you would do. You would fall and get right up and dust yourself up and say, I'm a king. I'm a warrior. God knew I was going to fall. And so God said, the more you learn to love yourself, Morris, like I love you unconditionally, you're going to fail differently. You're still going to fail, but you're going to pick yourself up. You're going to repent and ask for my forgiveness. And he said, this is important. I was like, God, why do you care how much I love me? He said, Morris, because if you don't learn to love yourself, you're not going to love other people like I designed you to. And I started thinking about it, Stephen, and the grudges that I hold for people and how long it takes me to forgive somebody. And you know why I treat people like that? Because I hold grudges against myself. So 5 years later, I still fall, but man, I'm not down for 2 or 3 days. I might be down for 2 or 3 hours, but it's not days. I asked God for forgiveness and I get back up and I get back on that journey of playing the role of this character that I'm going to die trying to reach and play one day. And it's not a character of a perfect Morris. It's Jesus as a Christ-like character, as an image that the Bible said you and I should strive to live. And Jesus, he left us the roadmap in the New Testament. And that's what we're here to do.
Man, that's powerful. You're playing a role. You're an actor. It's an interesting way to look at it because it allows you to fake the funk, to fake it till you make it, which is like an argument some people put out there as, no, you shouldn't be faking it till you make it. And I think you should, because there's this thing called neuroplasticity that we could talk about.
You know my background in psychology. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't.
We can talk about this all day.
I love it.
This is why we have to fake it till we make it.
We have to fake it till we make it. Exactly. Like they say, you want to be rich? Okay, you got to act rich. You got to be the rich person. Then the money will come, kind of thing. But as far as being a good person, like, man, dude, this goes right back to exactly what I was telling you earlier, is when I was seeking after God, right when I saw you preach around that time, I was getting much deeper into it. And the word obedience kept hitting me. Be obedient. Be obedient. I'm like, all right, I'll be obedient. What do I do? I got to read the Bible. I got to pray. I got to do all this stuff. And if you get into the Bible and you start, again, subscribing to what it says, it's a framework of how you need to live as a man, as a woman, whatever. You're not faking it. You're starting to make decisions that you're really commanded to.
Let's go. Yeah.
You can call it acting. You can call it obedience. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
You're just drastically and rapidly changing your ways so that you can become more Christ-like.
And Stephen, I'm going to challenge you by reminding you that there are people out here listening and watching that are thinking, what? I disagree with both of them. I'm not an actor. Yeah. I know who I am. I'm legit. I'm real. No one's saying you're not legit. No one's saying you're not real. But here's what I'm saying. I believe college football specifically, and I've broke it down so much, that It's one of the last holy grails that we have, because we now know that there's evidence that both NBA and NFL, there's betting and all this other crazy stuff. It could be happening in college. But I'm going to tell you why sports is still so important to us. Because when everyone's tuning in to your favorite game, who's one of your favorite college teams? Okay, if you had to pick one.
I'll go with USC for my boy Matt.
Okay, so here we go. Love USC. That was my first pick in school. I was going to Southern Cal. I was going to be a Trojan. What happened? I couldn't afford the $45 application fee to apply. And so my first time I stepped on USC, when I was out west on a speaking tour, the day I stepped on campus and I walked in the student union, I just held my hands up and I was like, I couldn't even afford to apply to get in this school. Now I work with some of the top colleges and universities in the world. That's not a brag. It's that, man, I'm just glad I didn't give up on that vision. But the reason why I ask you, what was your college team? I'm a West Virginia Mountaineer. Obviously, we ain't been relevant in a while, but go Rich Rod. Hopefully we can restore something. But there's something unique about college football specifically that aligns us and that brings us together. Do you know why? Because no matter what down it is, if it's 1st and 10 or if it's 3rd and 4th, it's 3rd down, there's 4 yards to get what? 1st down. Everyone's in agreement with that. Yeah. Everyone watching on TV, everyone in the stadium, everyone. It's one of the only places in the world, Stephen, that everyone knows where the score is. We know the end zone is down there, but right now it's 3rd and 4th. Do you know why our world is so divided right now? It's because everybody's got their own philosophy. Yeah. Everyone's got their own 1st down marker.
Their own rules.
Everyone has their own rules and their own vision of what success is, but yet we all shop at Publix grocery store, Harris Teeter. We all drive up and down the same roads. So in one way, we've got to share this life and this experience together, but we are all wildly so different as we are pursuing what we think our own 1st down markers are. I think America is not going to come together until we get some political leaders who, in a very simple way, can find ways to use unification skills to bring people together and say, can we just agree on what a 1st down is? Can we just agree on some key economic indicators, some key family-based indicators, some key growth indicators for kids and children's in education? Can we agree on some health outcomes that are baseline, like some baseline cholesterol levels, fat levels, sugar levels, hypertension levels? Can we agree and see what we can't? And so that's why we have hypertension and diabetes over here. That's why we have Ozempic and Wagyu beef. I call this the Wegovy or whatever it is. I call it Wagyu beef, the other drug. And all these drugs that people are taking because they want to lose weight fast enough, even though their ethics are telling them, I think if I take this pill, it might kill me. I might die. But man, you mean I could lose 50 pounds though. That's what a man's going to say. And a woman's going to say, maybe I can lose the baby weight that I struggle from. And we're now in this pattern where we want to take a pharmaceutical pill, and the pharmaceutical companies love it. Shout out to Pfizer, my former employer. I used to work for Pfizer. I understand this, but I don't think I necessarily agree in anything that happens overnight, whether it's losing weight, whether it's this and that. And I'm coming back to reconnect what I'm saying right now. Sports is just one of those places that makes us all happy. You know why? Because for 2 hours while we're watching that game, we all see what the 1st down marker is. You might be cheering against my WVU team. I might be cheering against USC for you, but we enjoy it because we all are in a common goal in that moment. And right now, in real estate, in life, and in business, everyone's going off in different directions trying to score points for themselves. Is it a selfish pursuit? Yeah, it is. But should we all in America have the ability to pursue our own goals and dreams? Of course we should. But man, would it be a little better if we could do it together and help other people win, which is what you're doing with this content you're putting out, with Coastal Collective, everything you're doing. See, the reason why you're going to be more and more successful is because you're pursuing your own character, your own hero's journey. You're pursuing success, and that's great. But you're finding ways to help other people succeed also. That's why you're going to be a beast that nobody can stop.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes about the team. It becomes about the clients and the team.
Yeah.
It's more important, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I know like your journey is more about who you can help. You got to build yourself up first.
Yeah.
To be able to overflow into others.
You're right.
Yeah.
My journey, man, I'm not going to lie. My journey is a journey of selflessness that I've given myself permission to be selfish first, because one of the things you have to learn when it comes to mental health is there's all these words out there like self-reliance, and Galatians 5 teaches us that if we're good Christians, there's going to be fruit from our lives. And that fruit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness. And the last is self-control. And my mentor, Steve Davis, taught me this years ago. Shout out to Steve Davis if you're watching or listening to this. He said, did you ever stop to wonder that God listed self-control last for a reason. And think about this. Now, this is something that God showed me last year. Of the 9 fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and all of them, those are all emotional states of being, a feeling, a presence of peace, right? But self-control is the only one that's action-based and habit-based, because the feeling of self-control is what will allow you to grow and transform. And I think that's what we need right now in our world more than ever.
Yeah.
That's why you're in the gym in the morning. That's why you're disciplined. That's why this studio is so amazing. That's why everything is impeccable and in order, because self-control does lead to an organized life.
Yeah. Delayed gratification. I'm sure you've heard that.
Yep.
It's I think an element of self-control, but delayed gratification is something that it's a buzz phrase, word, whatever you want to call it right now. But I think it's totally relevant, especially for men, to stop being so impulsive. Most people are impulsive these days. We have distractions every second that we step outside of our house. I think we're bombarded with things that distract us from the goal, distract us from being Christ-like, distract us from holding on to those fruits that you talked about in Galatians. But delayed gratification is powerful, man.
And that comes with maturity too, Stephen. Like, I'm telling you, the only way to delay gratification, and we know this psychologically, if you look at any of the studies that have been looked at with delayed gratification, what we learn is the only people who can delay any sort of immediate gratification are people who have a vision for something different or bigger.
Yeah.
But if you can't replace your immediate gratification with a bigger score, it's just like a coach who says, you know what, we're not going to go for it on this 3rd and 6. We're going to kick this field goal and then push them back.
With just as much intensity.
You're exactly right. Because we know that if we kick this field goal now, it's going to help us actually drop the defense back and then score a touchdown just before halftime. See, there's a lot of intentionality and coaching and strategy that goes in there, but most human beings suck and we're horrible with delayed gratification, because you will never delay gratification and say no to something unless you have something bigger that you're pursuing. That's it. That's the answer. So you want to go in the hood. Go in the hood or in some Black communities or some white communities where it might be called white trash, or go into some communities where it might be the hood and it might be ghetto. What you see there are generational cycles of poverty, because our Bible even teaches us that we perish for a lack of vision. Okay. So if you don't have a vision for something greater, you won't be able to delay gratification. You're going to smoke drugs and do what your parents did.
Yeah. You'll
drugs, drink, you'll do this. If God does not replace that with a bigger vision for you, you're going to more than likely repeat exactly what you recognize and what you were influenced by when you were younger. Yeah. And this is why I don't care if someone reads my Bible like I do. I don't care if there's someone listening to this who doesn't believe in Jesus like I do. Man, I can be patient with those type of people because I have struggles with the things that I believe every day. I don't doubt my beliefs in Jesus, but I doubt beliefs in everything else. And this whole journey is about figuring this stuff as we go. But I tell people, you may not believe in God like I believe in God, but here's the deal. You better believe in something, because if you don't have something that's bigger than you, you'll never be disciplined in pursuit, and you'll never delay gratification, because only believing in something bigger than you, that's the only reason you would say no to you or your urges or your impulses.
And that doesn't, delayed gratification and self-control doesn't mean that you're waiting. Yeah, so waiting's an element of it, but it's not everything. You're not stopping your intensity. You're not slowing down.
Yeah.
You're redirecting your firepower to something else, and you're not going after like quick wins. Like for instance, when I'm building Coastal Collective and I have a vision for where I want to be, like I'm building a mountain, the iceberg effect, you know what I'm talking about? Where you see a little bit and everything else is underneath the water. Like the amount of things I'm doing, like this is a sweatshop. I am my own slave in this office.
Yeah.
I'm constantly running out and doing things. But am I scaling at the speed of some of these big brokerages or people who are making millions of dollars?
No, because that's not your intent.
That's not my intent. But that doesn't mean I'm sitting here and saying, all right, God will take care of me. And like my intent isn't no, I am hustling. We're talking like I'm doing 12, 14-hour days sometimes. So I just want to kind of reinforce that, because a lot of men watch this.
I want to compliment you. I think the way you're choosing to live your life, man, listen, your situation with your ex-wife and with your daughter. Did you say your daughter's 14?
14, yeah.
Okay. So just like your amazing daughter, London, has split custody and she has time with you, then time with mom, time with you. Yeah. You know who else you're impacting out here? There are women out here who also have split custody with their kids, and they're trying to figure out how to turn their young boys into men. And so there are women who are listening to this so they can learn how to treat their husbands better, their boyfriends better, their sons better, maybe their father. There's women out here who have bad relationships with their fathers because they didn't understand their father's commitment or dedication because they were young. That turns into a wound. Why doesn't daddy come see me play? Why doesn't daddy do these things? Why don't we go on vacations in the Hamptons like my friends go in the Hamptons? What if your dad was a hardworking blue collar guy and he gave you the best life he could, but you're in school comparing your life to your friends' trips to the Hamptons? What I'm saying is there are women listening to this right now who may get healing in a relationship with their dads, their brothers, their husbands, their boyfriends, or their sons because they're watching two men talk right now. So don't underestimate that because you're worth following, bro. You are what I call a real deal influencer. There's a lot of people out here wanting to be influencers, and they're so busy wanting to be an influencer that they're not doing any of the things to build actual self-respect, self-control, and real influence over themselves. And that's what you're doing. I believe that. That's why, listen, that's why I'm sitting in this chair. That's why I scheduled this time to be on your podcast / show / whatever you're going to call it. And if I was you, I wouldn't call this a podcast because it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that, bro. Don't even put no labels on it. I'm seeing how you're living your life. So don't underestimate how you're impacting people. All right.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay. So as a point guard, when I play basketball, I always knew, okay, I got a choice here. I'm gonna have to dominate and shoot every time because I don't like losing. Or I could play with some guys who are good and who like to rebound and play defense. And I won't have to shoot all the time because I love passing the rock. Every now and then, I would hoop with guys who I knew could shoot, but everybody has an off day. So what I would do, I would encourage a guy who was like 0 for 8 from the field. And I see him get down on himself. I was like, hey, bro.
You're going to shoot everything.
I said, hey, bro, I ain't passing to nobody else.
Yeah.
So you better figure this out.
Yeah.
That's because I just hooped with Charlie last week. And I know he can bang it from the 3. So he's having a bad shooting day. I would literally pass the rock to him until he hit 7 in a row. And afterwards, he's like, yo, Mo, thanks, man. I'm like, listen, if I got to believe in you right now more than you believe in you, meaning if you got to take a loan out of the Bank of Morris, if you got to come to me for a 0% loan, I'll loan you some of my faith right now. But you're going to keep shooting, though, because I'll put people on my team who suck. And I don't want to score all the time. I believe in you. I know you can score. And sometimes, see, this is why we need to have people around us
for sure.
who speak life into
Community.
us. Because when you have people who really know you, they'll be able to recognize when you're having an off day and they'll be able to say, nah, you got this. And they'll be able to be the ones who pull you out of your own pit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Because imposters, listen, man, you remember I said I like Christian men who look at Jesus and say, man, I could never be that type of guy, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to get there. As we pursue this Christ-like character, it's hard because we know we'll never get close to it. And on the days that we sent, listen, I told you last week on my birthday, I was thinking to myself.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Listen, I was in the mirror shaving and I was talking to God. I said, God, how could you love me? I am literally a walking contradiction. Like, I think about like how dark my thoughts are sometimes, bad thoughts. How amazing my thoughts are sometimes, really amazing thoughts, right? Then how negative I can be sometimes, pretty negative. How positive I can be.
I've seen it.
Paid as a positive speaker. And I like about my own humanity is what I'm saying. And how the Jekyll and the Hyde and the ups and downs. And the Holy Spirit said, Morris, this is called life. You're human. I'm like, but I'm literally a walking contradiction. How could you love me this way? And he said, go downstairs and look at your daughter. And Morris, come back up and look in the mirror and tell me if there's anything that can happen that's going to keep Stephen from loving London.
Yeah.
If there's anything that can keep Morris from loving Dory. And the answer is no. And God's, I love you like that, but times a million more infinitely that you could never understand. Now go have a good birthday.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's wild.
I think we all feel that way. How can I go from this to this? And the world labels it some kind of bipolar or whatever you want to
Let's talk about that because we're going to help somebody right now.
Yeah.
First of all, don't let the world label anything for you. I think you called me authentic at the beginning, which is the greatest compliment you can give me, but I asked you why. And you ultimately got to, I think, the word that I want everyone to be able to express, which is self-awareness. Okay. Research shows there's really 5 key areas of emotional intelligence.
I like this. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Number 1 is self-awareness. Are you aware of who you are? That's the good, the bad, the ugly, everything, right? Step 2 is self-regulation. What that means is it does no good to know something about yourself, but then to not have the self-control or the power to do something about it. So step 2 is self-regulation. But step 3 is motivation. Okay. That's real simple. So step 1 is you're self-aware. Step 2, you can self-regulate. But 3, you got to have some motivation to do something. That's why I love the book of James. I think I encourage everybody when you read the Bible to find one of the characters or some of the characters that you relate to most. There's a reason you relate to them. And what I've learned about me and my character with me being orphaned twice and having my story, I had to be a man of action from the time I was young. So that means I got curly hair None of the black barbers knew how to cut my hair. My grandma took me to a white barber. He didn't know what to do with my afro-like curly hair. So I'm like, man, if everybody's messing my hair up, I might as well be the one to mess it up. So when I was 10, I started cutting my own hair and it was horrible, y'all. Hey, hold on now. Watch this. By the time I was 12, your boy was really nice. By the time I was 13, everybody was paying me to cut their hair. Now, did I start that journey because I said I want to be a great barber? Actually, no. Matter of fact, when people started saying, yo, Morris, won't you cut my hair? And I say, listen, I don't cut hair. And this lady, she came up to me after church one day, Miss Marybelle Brooks. And she was like, hey, baby, I heard that you do hair. Will you do my hair for me? And there was something that I just did not appreciate. I did not appreciate a lady asking me if I would do her hair, like air quotes. Like, I thought that was very feminine, or I don't know. It wasn't very strong, male, heterosexual. And I was like, girl, I don't do hair. What are you talking about? And I'm thinking like, I cut hair sometimes. Like I cut my guy's hair. I cut dude's hair. But no, I ain't going to do no woman's hair.
How old were you?
I was like, at this point, Miss Marybelle Brooks, I think I was about 14. And she said, she responded, oh, you don't do hair? That's too bad. I normally give $30 plus tip. I said, whoa, did I mention that I also make house calls? I'll see you tonight at 6 o'clock. I do hair. Man, Miss Marybelle, only thing she wanted me to do was trim the back of her hair on her neck, which was like 5 minutes. Pay me $30 plus tip. Nice. Watch this. This is about emotional intelligence. This is about skill acquisition. I don't want anyone listening or watching this to think that I'm talking about doing hair. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that no one could cut my hair, Stephen. And I was tired of bad haircuts. I think something amazing can happen in life when you know that you're tired of bad haircuts, or you're tired of not being able to lose weight, or you're tired of arguing with your parent, or you're tired of not being close with your siblings, or you're tired of losing out on real estate deals that you see other agents get that you can't seem to land, or you're just tired of not quite getting what you want in your life. That is a metaphor for bad haircuts. When I was tired of bad haircuts, the third step in emotional intelligence is motivation. You have to be willing to do something and to be the answer and to take action on the gaps that you feel. And let me tell you something. Even idiots out there who don't know who they are, they know when they don't feel good about themselves. I know when there's a gap and I'm not getting the results that I want in my life. And the question is, are you going to have enough self-awareness to be able to have regulation, self-regulation, and control to be motivated to do something about it? Listen, I became one of the best barbers. To this day, there's people whose hair I would cut back in the day who, if they ever see me anywhere today, they're like, oh, you got your clippers with you? I'm like, nah, man, I got ranked number one speaker in the world last year. You think I carry my clippers everywhere? I've moved on from the barbershop. But what's interesting is cutting people's hair and people sitting in my chair. By the time I was 16 or 17, I was the guy in my small town in West Virginia. People would go to the town barber to get their hair cut, and then they would leave him and come find me to fix whatever he messed up. Yeah. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. I didn't realize I had skills, or I didn't think I was good or bad. I just knew I could cut my hair and a few people's hair. But when people started leaving the town barber to come and find me and to fix what he couldn't do, I started to realize I might be pretty good at that. But guess what happened to those people? Those same people who sat in my chair, who would come and seat me out and I would go to the house to cut their hair. Some of these people were doctors and lawyers and people that I really respected. And as a teenager, these people started to trust me. And then the more they started to trust me, they would sit in my chair and they would share all of their deepest, darkest secrets with me. And that really made me feel uncomfortable. I didn't understand it. As an adult, you later realize in life, the people that you know, love, and trust the most is your doctor, your lawyer, your preacher, your pastor, your spouse, and the person who does your hair. I would end up with some guys, they would share with me about their upcoming divorce before they share with their spouse. And then what was really weird, Stephen, is they would ask me questions. Grown men who I respected would ask me for my thoughts and my input and for wisdom on how to handle their situations. And the reason why I knew that I wanted to become an influencer before the word influencer was out 20 years ago, I knew that I wanted to take whatever I was able to do for people when I cut their hair, like with that type of relationship and trust, I wanted to do that on large stages around the world. Because let's just be honest, there's a little kid who's still inside of me. His name's Little Momo. And Little Momo, who's inside of me, he still just wishes he had a mom and dad. He wishes he had a home to go home to this Christmas, and he doesn't. So there's a little kid inside of me who needs to be needed by people. There's a little kid inside of me who I'm not as insecure as I used to be, but I'm a wildly insecure person. I'm naturally insecure. And people see me and they see how I present myself and how I look and how I talk, and they don't necessarily see that I suffer from imposter syndrome. You know why? Because I never had a dad like Stephen or a dad like Morris who said, hey, here's who you are. You can do anything, okay? don't forget why I'm telling you this, because emotional intelligence is the key here. Step 1 is self-awareness. Step 2 is self-regulation. Step 3 is, are you motivated? But step 4 is empathy. Because if you can build a life for yourself, but still not find a way to love others and be empathetic, what does all the money in the world matter if you can't empathize with other human beings? But step 5 is social skills, okay? Because when you're able to have emotional intelligence and regulate your life and be motivated and have empathy, what you say next matters. And this is why a lot of people say, Morris, I'm just an introvert. And I'll say, you're not allowed to be an introvert. You work for Apple or Google or one of the biggest companies in the world. You have to talk. So you have to develop greater social skills in order to have leadership, impact, and influence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So I just walked you through the 5 steps of emotional intelligence, including how me being orphan impacted my own self-awareness because I didn't have a mom and dad doing things for me early. I had to learn skills, even if it meant learning how to cut my hair. Stephen, I never wanted to wake up and say, I want to be one of the world's best barbers. I just knew I was tired of bad haircuts. And for the people out here listening, if there's anything in your life that you're tired of and you're not getting the results that you want, that means you're the only person capable of believing that you can take the next step to do something about it. So you are one phone call away from calling someone, from emailing someone, or maybe even reaching out to Stephen or someone right here within this collective and saying, yo, Stephen, I don't know why I feel this way after this podcast with you and Morris Morrison, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to ask you, Stephen, but can we just have coffee? Man, sometimes if that's your next step, that's how you change your life.
It is, yeah. Speaking of the amount of coffees that I've been getting the last month or two with other men and women who I respect, that has been a game changer for me. Yeah. It's being vulnerable. It's a lot of caffeine. I got to slow down. Maybe
get decaf, baby. Get decaf.
Yeah, I did that today.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to teach you something about white people and black people.
Let's hear it.
See, I'm dropping y'all everything, race relations and everything. Did you know that when white people drink caffeine, y'all get real crazy? Yeah. But when black people drink caffeine, we mellow out and we get real smooth. Did you know that?
No.
Nah, I'm lying, man. I just want to see your face, man. I just want to see him like, yo, Morris Morrison is deep, man. He hit me with the 5 levels of emotional intelligence. He just told me that brothers, man, they don't have caffeine doesn't affect them. Man, I'm like, yeah, that's because we like grizzly bears. You know what I'm saying?
People were writing that down.
They were
cross it out.
For real?
That's true.
Nah, but they were like, man, that's why Leon on my team, that's why he's so crazy because he's drinking all that coffee. Nah, let me tell you something, man. Hey, serious tip.
Yeah.
I live my life as an entrepreneur. People ask me, they said, Morris, when you're not on big stages throughout the world, what's it like when you're not on an airplane? What's it like when you're home? You can find me having coffee with people. Yeah. I live my life to have enough freedom and flexibility to sit and have coffee with people. Why? Because this is different. We're sitting in this episode, you're asking me questions that you want me to answer. But when I'm in a coffee scenario, whether it's with someone younger than me or older than me, I have a notebook out and I am writing. Why? Because I learned the greatest secret in life. Man, if you'll shut up and write some things down when people are talking, you're going to collect some really good common sense wisdom. And it's going to change how you invest in the stock market. It's going to change what type of women or men you date if you're single. Everything changes when you shut up and have coffee with someone, write it down, and then actually do what they say.
Yeah. Listening's an art. Active listening.
Yeah. I know you sent me some questions you wanted to ask me, and I know we've been all over the place. That tends to happen when you're dealing with a crazy imposter syndrome driven communicator like me. But I'm apologize in advance, but I'm not going to apologize for the gift.
No.
That God created in little Momo.
I love it.
By the way, he's still trying to figure out what he want to do with his life, by the way.
Oh, man. Same, dude. I got one of those in me.
Yeah.
All right. So you told us your story earlier about being orphaned, having multiple sets of parents, losing them, and how you coped, who you became because of that. So you've taken that story and turned it into a mission. And we've seen that through some of the things you talked about with speaking. We didn't really get into books.
Yeah.
But you've written some books.
That's right.
You've built brands.
Yeah.
And obviously you're speaking. So everything you're building with Windmill Park Media, pretty much. And a couple other companies.
Secretly Wyoming based to protect me from all the crazy attorneys.
Yeah, you won't hear them. They're in trust. You won't find them.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. They can find them. It's just that if you Google them in Wyoming, one of the reasons we like Wyoming, because they don't disclose the ownership structure. That's one of the biggest winks right there. Yeah. Stephen, you blowing up, man. When people realize how much money you really got, people will start Googling all your stuff. You better be careful.
So for anyone listening who wants to follow your work, where can they find your content? And what's the next chapter that you are creating today?
That's amazing. So
that's the big one.
Absolutely nowhere. They can Google me. You can find very little videos. That's as a professional speaker. Part of our brand strategy was not to put a lot of videos of me speaking out there.
Where can they find you to get in touch with you, to book you,
no doubt. Well,
to learn more about
MorrisMorrison.com. Yeah. I got all the social media accounts and all that stuff. But listen, man, I have a wife and I got a daughter. And I've intuitively just known, and a lot of people do not take my advice when I say this. You have to figure out what's best for you. But for me, I said, man, I got this little kid in my house. Yeah. She's amazing. I'm only going to get this once. And
feel
like
that.
10 years from now, she's going to be living her own life. And I can stack millions and millions and millions. And just making money has always come easy to me. But I know a lot of people who spend all this time building wealth and they talk about one day. And then they say one day. And I say, one day what? I will not live a deferred life. I'm not deferring my life. Matter of fact, like this watch that you see, this gold watch, is a very deeply emotional thing for me. The $1 Million Roundtable last year ranked me #1 speaker in the world. And I was their opening speaker, thousands of people in Dubai, one of the biggest global business conferences. Awesome. And when they called me, they had one question. The people on the phone were in Bangkok, Thailand, they were in Singapore and New Zealand. They got me on a call at 12 o'clock at night, my time, or 10 o'clock at night, because it was when they said, we have one question. We just ranked you #1 speaker in the world. How did you do this without promoting yourself on social media? And shout out to $1 Million Roundtable. Right away, I was thinking to myself, how can I describe to these business leaders who were asking me this question what it means to have God's anointing on your life? God's hand has been on my life. He's protected me since the day I was born. There's an anointing on my life to do what I do. My intentions are anointed. My words are not always anointed because I can say something that's wrong or emotional or describe something the wrong way. But every one of us, Stephen, we're all here for a reason. Everything that you do, once you get in alignment with God, is going to be anointed. And this watch that I'm wearing, when I got that #1 ranking, this watch was a gift for me. And every time that I look at it, it reminds me of how much I still don't quite believe that I could be #1 anything. And I struggle with that. And so I've always struggled with the idea of building this brand online while I have kids and while I have a family, because I see these people who are on their phone all the time. And I just said, I'm not going to live this life where I'm trying to be successful, but I can't enjoy the success that's in my hands right now. There is something that's very valuable for all people when they ask themselves, what has God put in my hands right now? Yeah. And if I never got to live one more day, how would that change today? Listen, I'm not judging anybody, but if you knew you had a week to live, brother, I promise you wouldn't spend a lot of time on social media. Hey, you be out doing stuff. Yeah. And guess what? You can catch me today out doing stuff. That's how I live my life. So here's what we're working on, man. We got a big Netflix deal we're in the middle of signing right now, 8 episodes. We got a new movie opportunity. A movie came out a year and a half ago. It won the Oscars last year called Oppenheimer. Yeah. So Atlas Studios produced that. So I'm working with Atlas on some things. Amazing. My new book's getting ready to come out. It's called Rise Anyway. So if you have a book titled Rise Anyway, right, what do you think that book's about, Stephen? Yeah. Rise anyway. No matter what you face, no matter what, do it anyway.
You're going to fail forward.
Get up anyway. That same message that God gave me. Boy, you don't know how much I love you. If you knew, you would not stay down so long when you fall. Get up anyway. And guys, even if you don't believe in Morris, get up anyway and watch what I do with your life. The point of this book, when we started the outline about a year and a half ago, the initial title of the book was called Gold Standard. And I felt like the Lord wanted me to tell the world to get back to understanding that it's values that will make you valuable. Let me say this again.
I like that.
Your values are what makes you valuable. No offense to you, Stephen. Handsome guy, you work out, you got it all together, you got an amazing daughter, beautiful house. Hey, y'all, this white boy got some money. I'm telling y'all, if y'all need money, come find Stephen. He's got your back. This boy's got it all. But let me tell you something. Nobody cares about all of that. No. What people care about, and the reason why people are going to choose the collective to do business with, ultimately people are saying, show me what your values are, and I will determine your value to me. And here's a belief. So I started outlining the book. I realized something. The intro of the book started off with this. It's real simple. My grandma who raised me when she adopted me, she smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And I slept in the same room that she slept in on a bunk bed when I was a kid, which means the smoke rose up to the top. I lived my life in cigarette smoke my whole childhood, but I knew that I would never, ever touch a cigarette. And I have never touched a cigarette. The hardest thing I've ever had to do was decide from the time I was young what was going to be important to me, despite what was important to my family or my friends or anyone around me. And if you truly believe in Jeremiah 1:5, that God blessed you, he anointed you, he called you, he sent you here for a reason, that means your only job in life is to do whatever you can to figure out that reason. And one way to help people, and by the way, I spoke at a big leadership conference a few years ago in Minnesota, and the theme of the conference was Discover Your Leadership. I got off the plane and I was driving to the venue, big leadership conference. And I felt God say, hey, Morris, when you get on that stage, tell those people they don't have to discover anything. Because think about the word discover. It inherently means go out and find something. That's the exact opposite of how people need to look at their values and their potential and their purpose. God said, Morris, you're going to tell them not to discover their leadership. Tell them to uncover it. Tell them to uncover what's always been there. And so this idea of rising anyway, which we took the title of the book from Gold Standard, was I want to show people who've never been taught this, how to build companies, how to build brands, and how to build something great by first deciding what you want to value. Me, I value Jesus Christ. And with that, every other value floods in with that. I also value how I respect people. I also value how generous I am. I also value how I serve people. I also value being wildly independent and free enough to live life on my own terms so that I can be an overflow and serve others. Those are some of my values. Come hell or high water, nothing's going to change that, right? So when you called me authentic at the beginning of this episode and you said I live differently, I move differently, and I stand out, and you said it's because of my self-awareness, no, it's because of some values that I decided to live by a long time ago. And because of those values, that's what allows me to show up differently. Even when I don't get what I want. By the way, I don't always win. So we're in the middle of this big deal with Netflix and this movie deal and everything else. Bro, we got major partners in play in Hollywood right now, while Netflix is negotiating with Time Warner to acquire Time Warner right now. So the deal's going to the Federal Trade Commission right now. They're afraid it may or may not be a monopoly. What am I trying to say? Man, my Hollywood deal might not come together. But even if this Hollywood deal doesn't come together for this deal, do you think anything's going to stop my deal from coming together? It may not be this year. It may not be next year, and it may not be Netflix. But listen, I believe that nothing's going to stop what God sent me here to do, but me. Yeah. Nothing's going to stop you, Stephen. So this next book that we're working on is called Rise Anyway. I want to give people permission to uncover what's there and what they have, and then unapologetically go live those values to serve others. I don't want to teach people for the rest of my life how to be motivated and get what they want. More sex, more drugs, more money, more houses, more. I'm not in it for that. I'm not in it for teaching someone how to get the watch they want or the new car and all this other stupid stuff. Listen. There's nothing wrong with those things, by the way, because when you're younger and you're hungry and you're motivated, sometimes God will allow you to achieve certain status and success markers along the way that you thought was important. It could be the new Escalade. God will let you get that and earn it and pay cash for it, so that at times you can realize it didn't bring you near the satisfaction you thought it would. And then God, as a father, he's like, hey, my man, you done with that yet? You done?
Yeah.
You ready for me to really use you now? So you've just sold 40, 50 million in real estate this year. Are you ready? Because I got 5 billion waiting for you on the commercial side on the deal over the next 5 years. Are you done playing with your food, Stephen? And so sometimes God will let us achieve success so that we can taste it, because he's a father. Yeah. How often does London ask you for something that you don't really want to buy her or give her? But man, she's your daughter. You love making her happy. It's not going to change her life. God does that for us too. Let us get the new house, the car, close deals, buy new companies, acquire companies, all this stuff that we do. But God's like, Morris, you done playing with your food yet?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. We make them idols sometimes too.
We all do.
It's a good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
I think what happens there is, I don't know, you tell me what your experience with this is, but getting more things over time and hunting for things constantly, searching for success in things and money and all that.
Yeah.
And then getting them.
Yeah.
We talked about this last time when you were here.
We did.
We were just sitting in the kitchen.
I told you, I just sold my Mercedes.
I just
sold my big truck last week. My wife's about to get upset with me, man. I want to move into a condo. I don't want to own our houses. I don't want, listen, you follow these people who are minimalist, and then you watch like their style. And I'm like, why are you living in an 800 square foot apartment with 4 kids again? That's just crazy. Now that's a little crazy if you ask me. No judgment, by the way, if you're doing it, you're a minimalist. But what I'm saying is what people are ultimately seeking for is, first of all, love and approval from God. That's where we get it. And once you get that and you start to realize, man, a matter of fact, when a dude came to buy my Mercedes, I'd had it for less than a year. I had the big engine, the twin turbo V. It was the big boy, right? My wife was home when the guy came to pick it up. She took a video of the guy, put it on a truck when he took it out. A guy, they were taking it to Florida. And I was in Chattanooga at our mountain house. And she texted me. She goes, you okay? And I was like, girl, I have never been. And she's surprised because since we've been dating since college, she's been with me for over 20 years. She's seen me with every car you can imagine. So she knew that cars have always been important. But see, here's the thing. I feel like God's like, Morris, are you done playing with your food?
Right.
You ready? Are you ready for some next level? And so whoever's listening to this, you're right. We turn things into idols, Stephen. And for the people who don't understand what that's terminology for, meaning we worship stuff, houses, cars, money, this, that, and then only to find out that, man, you know what I love more than anything? You know what you can't put any price tag on? When I'm talking to my wife and she's asking me how my day was, and she stops everything and she turns her shoulders towards me and she's looking at me when I'm talking to her, full eye contact, and actually genuinely interested, because her husband is a professional speaker who I have been taught by mentors since day one, Morris, if you want a successful marriage, you got to take your communicator's hat off and leave it on the front porch. And when you're with your wife, just shut up, just listen, let her talk a little bit. And I get excited, I get passionate, and I don't apologize for my gift. But what I'm trying to tell you is I've arrived at that point where seeing my daughter smile and happy and having conversation with my wife and making eye contact with her, there's nothing that can top how I feel when we get to do that.
I love that. Man, this is good stuff, dude.
I got you spinning, man. So you asked, what are we working on? That's the stuff we're working on. The deals get ready to come out, the Netflix show. We're excited, man. Listen, basically, so far, I want the show to be called Dominate, because that's the word that God's given me. Humans, we were given dominion. We were given.
I hear Dory saying that at church.
You hear her saying it at church all the time. It's our word in the house.
Yeah.
God did not create us to come in second place in anything. It's not about dominating others. It's about dominating your own sin, dominating your weaknesses, dominating and you getting better so that you can serve people. It's not dominate for you.
Man.
It's dominate so that you can bless other people.
Yeah, I wish I had this verbatim. Rise of Consciousness is another platform I have, which I'm going to post this on there as well, because I think this is really important for the men that we serve over there. The purpose-driven aspect of all of this, all of these things, all of this hustle, dominate, all these things we're throwing out there, what we're trying to say, I think, and you tell me, man, you correct me if you want, but it all comes down to impact and service and purpose. Like at the end of the day, dude's selling his very expensive Mercedes. I got rid of my stupid 500 horsepower BMW SUV. What was I doing that for? It didn't fill the spot. I don't sell real estate now to make all this money for me. That's just, I've already been there. I've already done it.
Yeah.
And then I've already imagined the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I'm going to be miserable because I'm putting all of my hope and dreams and purpose and everything in things and status and money. And I guess what we're trying to say is you got to find the thing that is going to really fill you up. What is really going to fill your heart, right? We talk about God a lot. We talk about family a lot. We talk about service a lot. So for me, I found that in giving back, because I came from a pretty jacked up childhood too. Nothing crazy, but divorce, abuse. My family was split apart. And then I left for the Marines and I ignored that. And so putting that back together and finding ways to put it back together, like you mentioned earlier, you identified a problem and you willed it. You figured out a solution and you willed
Stephen,
it.
some people have to be tired of bad haircuts.
You got to be tired of bad haircuts. And once you are, that means you have reached your freaking limit.
That's
right.
When
you reach your limit, you find a purpose. There's no reason for you to just go become an awesome barber. Like you do that because you've identified a problem. So once you feel that solution that you've created because you've exacerbated every other means to fill that hole, then you want to share that. And that's exactly what I'm trying to get at is I think that's what you're doing. That's definitely what I'm doing. But the reason that we share this, the reason we up level is so that we can become the men and the women that can then take that and then go impact other people's lives. To me, that is my purpose. My purpose for up leveling myself, and I know it is for you, even though you didn't say that blatantly, is because that's what you're doing. You're on stage making a difference to people in people's lives.
And Stephen, some people have to get to the point where they achieve the recognition, the status, or the thing that they thought they were going for. This is what I said about God. I think God allows us to achieve some of these things at times so that we can see they were empty.
They were empty. They're meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like we went through I went through a bunch of cars. You went through a bunch of cars. Like we finally learned our lesson. We're like, it's not about that.
But see, here's the thing. You said one of my favorite words, meaningless. Yeah. What car did I pull up in today? A 1994 Acura Integra GSR. So that was my car in college. It got stole multiple times in Baltimore Strip, blah, blah, blah. And I always said, I'm going to find a 94 Integra that was my college car and I'm going to rebuild one day. And we had fun rebuilding it. And then the car that I have with me, it's a collector. And these things are becoming very rare at auto auction. These things are pulling big draws, right? An Acura NSX or an Integra that's in mint condition. And so as I've gotten rid of a lot of my other cars lately, I'm like, and everyone knows, by the way, my Integra, we call it the baby beast, right? Dory named it the baby beast when she was young. So it's a red Integra. So the baby beast, I'm like, I got this collector. The family knows if anything ever happens to me, the baby beast is never sold. It must be. And I'm like, but look at the irony. I don't drive the baby beast. So what's the meaning of it? Is it just this nostalgia, this thing that meant something to me in college? And it's not. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive the baby beast now.
Yeah.
So I'm driving it, to your point, because of the meaning, the nostalgia. It's just my old college car, right? I've had every other car. Some people have to. Some people are, for whatever reason, because of how they were raised, they could have some crazy trauma in their background, like some of it that you alluded to just now. Who knows why women are getting injections in their lips and butts and hips, faces, and guys doing it. Don't make fun of the women because guys do that. Guys are putting on muscle at the gym. So the biceps in the gym, that is our Botox. You know what I'm saying? We all do it. That's my point. And then, man, what a beautiful point it is where you can start to take captive and inventory and ask yourself, honestly, why am I doing this? Why do I hang out with these people? Right. Why do I got to take so many trips here? When you start asking yourself these things, you start to take captive all of the meaningless stuff. Because my favorite place in the Bible is when Solomon is describing in the book of
Ecclesiastes, man.
Everything else is like chasing the wind. And he also says there's nothing new under the sun. So listen, man has been searching for meaning for a long time. And when you get to the point where you realize you don't have to discover it, all you got to do is uncover what's always been there.
That's awesome, dude.
And that's the trick. You mean you climb all these mountains, you live this life, you make this money, you go through all this to find out it's been with you the whole time? Are you kidding me, man? That's like the Wizard of Oz, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
I think Solomon felt that way because Solomon was the richest man on earth.
That's right.
King over crazy amounts of land.
That's right. Don't fail to mention how many women he had,
600 and something.
Nah.
Dude was a player.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah.
He had everything that most men think they want, yet he was still writing, trying to find and discover the meaning of life. And what was his conclusion? He said it was like chasing the wind. But the last thing Solomon realized is that our purpose here is to love and to fear God. So if you make it through this life and you don't have any fear or reverence for God, the person who created you, it would literally be like your daughter London just going off and living her life tomorrow and forgetting that you ever existed. And imagine how that would make you feel. So we all have a creator, whether you believe that or not. There's a reason we're all here. And I just don't want to see people live years and years of their life and not be real with themselves. Before I left your studio last time I was here, we talked about how nice it is to have real conversation with someone. Well, Stephen, that's my gift to the world. My gift to the world is not my authenticity. It's the permission that I want to give other people to live their values and to be real. Stop being fake. Stop putting stuff on social media. Stop hanging out with friends just for status. Like when you can start to live your life and be who you really were designed to be, that is freedom. And that's when God will use you the most.
Yeah. The range of your impact doesn't matter. Stop trying to be like world changer right off the get-go. Change somebody's day by smiling at them as you walk by them. Start with that. Start with something small.
That is, I wrote this last week. I believe the most powerful thing you can do is exactly what you just said. If you're not impacting the people that are in line beside you at the grocery store because you think it's awkward to turn and say hello, then you're missing half of this whole test. Like you're missing out on all of it. That's where I started
with all this stuff, was just opening up in public and smiling at people. There's so many opportunities. You're at the register somewhere and you're just standing there in silence next to somebody who's standing there in silence.
Like, hey, I told this story in my first book, Overnight Success, that I went to this really wealthy old white guy's party at his house when we first moved to Lake Norman outside of Charlotte. And I'm describing, he's old, he's white, a lot of money for a reason, because I want you to picture the dynamics. Biggest house on Lake Norman. My wife and I pull up, and Lisa and I had we weren't married yet. We were engaged. We were going to the party together. We pull up and I'm like, look at this Bentley. There's a helicopter over there. Oh my God. So ring the doorbell. The dude, he answered his own door at his own party. I'm like, he's like in a Hawaiian shirt or something like that. And his name's Bob. And I'm like, Bob, oh my gosh, you're Bentley. Bob, you're Bentley. That is absolutely amazing. He goes, oh, that old thing, that ain't nothing. It gets me where I need to go. I'm like, Bob, that's your helicopter? Like, Bob, that, you have a helicopter? He's like, we just call it the Bird. It's like a bird. It flies us here and there every now and then. Totally dismisses it, right? I get in his house and I'm looking around. I said, Bob, your house is amazing. He's like, it keeps the rain off of us. It'll do. And I noticed this guy is genuinely not impressed with the Bentley, the helicopter, the house. And the way he treated me that night, the way he treated his guests it gave me permission to dream of this one dream. Why is it that really healthy, rich people that I've been around, they don't have any attachment to their stuff? They know that the greatest gift of their wealth is their community, and to be able to live life and to enjoy a meal with people that they care about. So I call it the rich old white guy syndrome. A lot of them aren't impressed, and some of them drive Toyotas for a reason, because they learned at some point in a way that the stuff wasn't what made them happy and gave them real joy. And I just started saying, and this was just in my 30s, I was like, man, I'm going to start living like this. Now that I'm in my 40s, I've been practicing this for about 15 years now. And it's just freedom, man. It's freedom. I know we all have things, if you're watching or listening to this, we all got things that we pursue. Steven, you got big goals and you think big. And I think you're going to achieve a lot of them, even more than what you think. But man, I just hope that as you're achieving them and crushing them, I hope you get the satisfaction that you thought they would be. All right.
Yeah.
And that's my prayer for you, bro.
That's the thing, man, is just to cap part of the combo is the big goals have changed from a dream board with things like Lambos and houses and vacations and things like that to building a team. There's only so much that I can achieve by myself until it just becomes meaningless, right? There's like the law of diminishing returns. So why did I build a team? So that I got enough. There's a certain point where I got enough and I can continue to pour what I've built into other people and watch these young agents get married, have wives, have kids, and know that I've created an environment for them to thrive and to be able to put food on the table for their kids. To me, that's the biggest thing. And not diminishing the service of what we give our clients whatsoever, just to plug out there real quick, because we put some good people on our team. We partner with amazing vendors, but it really comes down to how do you output the absolute best product and change lives. It's not just how do you put out the best product and stack cash. It's how do you have the best output possible in the industry, which is a noble goal, and change lives. And that, to me, that's building a team. So like the overflow, and I talked about overflow with you in the beginning, Morris. I can just tell you're an overflow dude. Like you're filling this with God, purpose, fitness, health, all that stuff, to then overflow into Dory and your wife and into your listeners and people that you're impacting on stage. And that's exactly what we do here. And that's what this whole platform is, bro. The Collective. It's a pretty fitting name, The Collective.
That's what it's supposed to be.
We're building that together.
And guess what? What you're attempting to build, you're not building. You are restoring God's original plan for our world. This is how it was always supposed to be. You're just uncovering what God's already had there and what was here before in some places. Like when we say find your tribe, do you know why we say colloquialisms like that? It's because we literally used to live in tribes. So that meant if you were lazy and you didn't hunt that day, it wasn't just you were dejecting yourself, or you were impacting the entire tribe with your lack of performance. And so today we have to talk about concepts like overflow, which is what are the things that I need to do every day to fill up my cup and to overflow so that I can bless others and live a life that's others focused. We have to live that way today. We have to focus on overflowing. 1,000 years ago, you didn't have to live that way because it was that way. You would hurt the village if you didn't go do your job. And you were dealt with accordingly. Like I said, you didn't see a lot of fat Indians back in the day in the tribe. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody was sitting around. You laughing. Hey, listen, why you laughing, man? For real. Hey, I'm a comedian. I told y'all I'm going to say some things sometimes that like I wish I could take back. Listen, if you're a fat Indian and you're out there, and if you take offense to that term, then I apologize. But I don't want you to take more offense to that term than you do take action on what I'm saying, which is this. You were created to live in community. So it's contribution mindset. And that's what I teach and write about. There's something interesting about when you live with a contribution mindset and you know, I must contribute all that I am to whoever I can. My word is dominate. I'm going to dominate everything I got to dominate every day so I can stay in overflow because I must serve others.
For what? Exactly.
That's the why.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But all these jokers out here trying to be on OnlyFans and trying to dominate to get their influence up and whatever else, whatever you do, no judgment. But what you're going to do, it's just like the Mercedes was for me. You're going to realize that all of that is just chasing the wind. And let me tell you something, all the women out there who say they don't want to have kids and they don't want to get married, I understand. You can do what you want to do, but you don't want to be 52 years old with every Gucci and Prada bag, but nobody there with you on Thanksgiving. When you're 55. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
We were designed, my point is to live in tribe and in community, so you must contribute. By the way, you do not have to have a child to be a contributor.
No, you don't.
Because the greatest thing are these stories of people that I know who are single and who are 70 and who's 60 and who are 32 or 25, and they love being single because they can serve their friends and families.
Yeah, you don't even have to.
But they still serve though. Do you understand?
Exactly. Yeah.
Whether you adopt or not.
Exactly.
This is not about if you have a child or not.
Community.
This is about if you understand the reason you're here is to contribute all that you are to someone else. That's the point. And I think that was if I could title this today.
Title it, Wheels Are Spinning.
Reasons to Dominate. Because when you've got a reason to be your best and to dominate, and it's about financial incentive alone, that's just going to lead you nowhere. Yeah. And unfortunately, you're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way.
And the funny part is when you stop focusing on that, you start dominating financially. Isn't that crazy?
You're exactly
it's
right.
True, man.
My new book is called Rise Anyway. And part of the R in rise, it's a twofold R, but the first part of the R means, what's your reason to rise? You ain't rising for nothing if you can't tell me your reason. Because the book is all about values. What do you value? And the premise of the whole book is he or she who defines their values delivers the most value.
Same with goals, right? I mean, it's very similar. You got to write them down.
Listen, I believe in goals. I believe in values over goals today. You know why? Because my joke, people, Q&A, large audiences will ask me, Morris, do you keep a vision board? Do you have goals? And my joke, and I stopped telling this joke because I didn't want to offend people, but I say, listen, y'all, if I got to have a board with my goals on them, I didn't mean them in the first place. Because what I'm seeking after, I don't got to write that down. It's so buried in my heart.
Yeah.
It's uncovered by the Lord that if I got to have a vision board to look at every day just to remember what it is I'm chasing, I don't know if I'm chasing the right thing. And what did you say? You even admitted earlier, you used to have Lamborghinis and stuff like that on those boards. Yeah. And now they're not on your boards. I tell you what, let me say it to you differently. Do you got to put London's face on your vision board? No. Nobody has to tell you to pursue your daughter and love her with everything every day. That's my point. Nothing wrong with vision boards, by the way. But what I am saying is I do believe in goals, but I believe in values more. Yeah. And that's why we need Jesus more than ever before, because if you try to come up with your own values, more than likely, they're going to be self-serving. And you better be a golfer or you better be a tennis player because you're going to suck at team sports. Values are what allows you to have value for a team, for a tribe, for a community and for a world. Man, I'm spitting bars right now. You're going to have to you have to clip that later on. You better play individual sports if you don't have values and all you got is goals. Values are what allows you to really level up and to live a life that impacts other people, in my humble opinion.
That's it, man. I love it, man. I'm going to ask you a pretty cool question. You ready?
Yeah.
If every person listening to this could erase one fear that's holding them back, just one, what fear would you tell them to kill first and why?
I would tell everyone to kill fear of fear. Don't kill any of them. Put them in your gas tank. Light that thing on fire. Let it be that fuel that you need. Listen, I don't want to die being overweight of a heart attack, diabetes, like everyone in my family. That's the real fear that I have. But I ain't trying to kill that fear. I need that fear. Because if I don't have that fear, for me personally, I might get a little comfortable. And I see people get really successful when they kill their fears. Because fear was always meant as fuel, in my opinion.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so how did they look at their fear?
Hey, by the way, y'all, if y'all listening to this and you can't see his face right, you should see his face right now. He's, man, Morris just threw me a curveball. Man, I wasn't ready for that.
All right, I didn't even have this follow-up question, but it seems like you're suggesting to place fear in a different category, to not get rid of the fear, but to look at it differently, to use it as fuel. How do you do that? How would you explain to me to do that if I came to you and I'm like, bro, I need help. This is a fear I have. This fear of not being good enough or this fear of whatever is preventing me from being successful in my business. Yeah. What do I do with that fear?
Some fears are emotional, like that, not good enough. I'm going to tell you at that point, you need to be in a Bible study group and you need to be reading God's word with other people who are reading it. Because when I read God's word with other people who are reading it and they're getting after what I'm getting after, they have the same values that I do, I'm able to be reminded what fear is and where it comes from. It is oftentimes an attack from the devil. But there's 3 stages of fear, or there's 3 elements. All right. 1, fear can come from the devil to distract you. All right. Yeah. B, you're supposed to laugh when I said 1, then I said B. I did Home Alone again. B, we produce our own fear by not doing what we're supposed to do. So anytime I get a notice in the mail from the IRS because this tax wasn't, which has happened so many times in my career, right? Because, and by the way, shout out to the IRS. We love them. You can write them a check for what they asked for and then, oh, we didn't cash the check. It's funny, IRS, my bank shows you cashed the check, right? And while they didn't find the check, they cashed it, but now they get charged more interest, right? Every time I get some type of notice about taxes or this or that, or whether I've paid or not at that moment, there's still a fear that I'm not good enough and I'm not org enough. Why did I get that letter from them? Yeah. What I'm trying to tell you is oftentimes if I paid estimated taxes late, or if I didn't get something to my account and it was my fault, now I've got this triggered fear that I created because I didn't do what I was supposed to. Listen, all fear does not come from the devil. The devil does do some bad things to distract you, but we bring some of our own destruction on by not doing what we're supposed to do. Every day, do what you're supposed to do. But here's the other element of fear that nobody ever wants to contend with. What if God wired you with some fear for a reason? What if God knew that he created you for a reason? And he knew that if you got everything that you asked for in your human flesh, that you would get comfortable. So what if God has hardwired into some of us small little elements that are what the Greek gods call them? They call it an Achilles heel. I believe we all have some element of an Achilles heel that's a part of our DNA. It's a part of how we think. It's a part of how we're wired. And I don't believe in spending thousands of dollars trying to educate yourself on coaching courses to get over your weaknesses. I don't. You know why? Because if you're really weak in an area, let's say you're a 1 or a 2 in this one specific area. So for me, it would be more like, I don't know, analytical skills, right? Yeah. Scientific skills. That stuff doesn't come natural to me because my gift is communication. Yeah. My gift is what happens when I connect with people. I could never memorize a periodic table of elements and tell you why an atom splits the way it does. And if I spent time trying to reinforce that gift, let's say after 2 years of many thousands of dollars, I go from a 1 to a 3. Yeah. That's what happens when you invest in weaknesses. And a lot of times our weaknesses are attached to our fears. Okay. So if we want to replace fear with something, how do we do that? We replace it with something that we dominate in. Okay. Basketball. I knew that at barely 6 feet, and I knew I did not have the athletic ability to go down the lane and dunk on everybody. I knew that I wasn't the fastest. I could focus on that and let that become a fear every time I face bigger players than me. Every time I face people who are faster than me, I could let this fear of what I don't have freeze me and paralyze me. Or I could be like, yo, these dudes over here are bigger than me. They faster than me, but they don't care about basketball like I do. It means more to me. So that means I'm going to dominate them because I care more than they do. See, they're resting and getting comfortable on their skills. I'm not gifted at basketball, but I don't like losing. I do have the gift of competitiveness
and hustle.
And I've met a lot of guys who had to face me on a basketball court who were not on a competitive scale 1 to 10. They were a 3 or a 4 because they could dunk from the free throw line. They could shoot right and left-handed. But me, competitive wise, I'm a 10. Which one you think is naturally going to win? Sometimes I'm going to get dunked on. All right. But if you get me in a situation with those guys, even if they beat me, they're going to remember me. Because say, man, he was smaller than me. I was faster than him. But man, he pushed me in that game. I want people out here to know that what if your fear was really a weakness that you haven't dealt with because you've not identified your strengths? Yeah. Watch this. The opposite of fear is what? Faith. So if you don't believe in God, then you actually believe that you have to come up with the answers. That's your fear. Your fear is, what if I don't have the answer? For me, I believe that Jesus died for me. So that means I don't have to come up with the answer. I believe that God's going to give me the answer. So do you see why I don't have any fear about certain things that most people would have a fear for? That's why I'm telling you, if you're listening to this and you've not given your heart to Christ yet, you got to try it out. Just try it out, because what you're going to get faith, and you're going to get ideas, and you're going to get answers to problems right now, immediately, in some aspects of your life that you've never had before, because you're going to believe that there's something bigger than you out there that can help you. What fear does, fear is when you are trying to take on all the problems of the world yourself, more than likely. That's why you don't have faith. And that's why I would want to see people get rid of fear in their life by growing their faith and by asking yourself what your strengths are. Because once you know who you are, which, by the way, didn't you tell me you like me because of my authenticity? I asked you what authenticity was to you. You said self-awareness. You know what self-awareness is? I know what I'm strong at. So because I know what I'm strong at, I walk into situations and I say, hey man, I don't have that rich white guy's Bentley when I was in 31 at his mansion. I don't have his helicopter. I didn't have his house, but I knew who I was, and I still walked into the party, and I still deserved to be at that party. And that guy was just as impressed with me at that party as I was with him, because I wasn't going in there thinking, man, I'm a pharmaceutical sales rep at the time. I only make $120,000 a year. I don't have as much money. I wasn't saying that. See, I didn't have that fear that I wasn't enough, because I knew what I was. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you got some people out here that I'm really preaching to right now, because they don't need me to tell them this. There's some people listening to this who already know what they're good at. But there are some people listening to this right now, Stephen, who are like, man, thank you for that, Morris, because you reminded what I've always known, but I forgot because I went through that divorce. I forgot because I filed bankruptcy 5 years ago. Some people go through things and they'll forget that God does still love them. They still have a purpose in life, and you still have skills. And some people just need to be reminded of that. You don't need to try to overcome your fear. You need to be reminded of your strengths, your abilities, and that God loves you. And being reminded of that. So I'm going to tell some people out there, here's homework. Take a pen and a piece of paper, not your phone. Take a pen and a piece of paper, not your phone, and write down what makes you great. And sometimes you need to revisit that piece of paper every day.
I like that. That's awesome. That's a good full circle question that brings back the authenticity, the self-awareness.
Man, come on, Stephen. That's what I do. I told this boy I'm a communicator. I said, man, I'm going to land the plane in a way where we can bring the first question of authenticity and everything back. Nah, man, that was God who blessed us with that, man.
All right, I got one more for you.
Nah, get it.
All right. That was good, man. I appreciate that. That's really powerful stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, hold on.
Yeah, bring it.
Listen, bro, I want to help people. I want to help people now.
Same.
So I don't want to give people more work to go do. By the way, if you want to write me a check because you appreciate me, my Patreon link is on it's like, I ain't got time for it. Everyone's telling me when I do start on social media next year, they're like, yo, you gonna kill it on Patreon. I'm like, man.
What is that?
You don't know what that is?
No,
it's just a link where if people like you, they can donate you. It's a tip jar.
Oh,
they can just be like, yo, Ma, I appreciate that. Here's $1.
Wow.
I'm like, man, I don't really need your money, but please go to patreon.com/Morris Morrison and help you. But why? Listen, because
I don't have one.
When you add value, and I'm being serious, when you add value to people now, I don't need you to buy my course. I don't need you to buy my book. I answered your question about fear because the people listening or watching this, they have the keys to change their fear right now.
Yeah.
And it could be immediate. And if you saw me preach this past year, you heard me say favorite word in the English dictionary. And my favorite, no, I'm sorry, not the English dictionary. My favorite word in the English dictionary, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Is inevitable. It's my favorite word. Because I believe when you believe that you are who God said you are, and you start doing what he asked you to do, and you serve people like he asked you to serve, I bet that everything else in your life is going to be inevitable, whatever your goals and dreams are. That's in the English dictionary. But my favorite word in the Bible is
immediately.
Because every time somebody had a crazy story in the Bible and they did what God told them to do, their blessing came immediately. Immediately. It was not like, okay, now that you've believed me, Stephen, check your email next week. You're going to get a contract to sign and you'll be able to get your legs back and you can walk after 38 years. Nah, Jesus said, man, just get up, walk with me now. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I'm not Jesus and you're not, but there are times that we can help people now and they don't have to buy our course or this or that, or may never be your client. And if you can start loving and serving people, like that's when your bills start taking care of themselves. Yeah. And my wife knows I say this all the time. If I do a good job on stage as a speaker, I should never, ever hear from you again because God already gave you everything you need. And if I remind you of that and you believe that and you go walk in that and you stop saying things like, man, I want joy and peace and love. That's the first step. I want it. And then second step is I have joy, peace and love. But the final step is I am joy, peace and love. And if I can get you to realize what you are and you can say, I am, man, I should never hear from you again. Now you get to just go be you and do what God designed you to be in an authentic way. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's why I wanted to answer that question that way. And I want to be real clear for people listening.
I love that. Yeah. And if you've tuned in before, all we ever do is pour into people for no other motive other than because we've been through some stuff and we've learned some things and we have some wisdom that we want to share. It has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So people are really skeptical of what they hear on the internet these days.
They are.
But if you just look at it, you got to find out what the content of the character is of the person speaking. And if you trust me, I've vetted people who are sitting in these chairs. So I would absolutely rewatch this one, not to get more views, download it. I could care less, but rewatch this one, pull out some nuggets. I like the idea of like just writing things down versus in your phone. It really is powerful. I started journaling.
Changes.
Yeah, man, journaling has been like pretty epic. Because also you don't want to write with a pen for hours. Like you could type for a long time. So you're like really efficient with your time.
By the way, people argue with me sometimes when they want to sound stupid, by the way, about this tip. That's me being judgmental. When you take out a pen and a piece of paper and you write something down, it's the ultimate form of self-respect. You're showing yourself in that moment that something that he said or she just said was so valuable that you don't want to forget it. And you don't want to forget it so that if you write it down, you might get a chance to implement it because you believe that it's so valuable that if you write it down and you do implement it, that it could change your life. Wow, this is worth writing down. It's a sign of self-respect. But the flip side of that is this is a sign of respect to the person sitting in front of you when you say, hey man, can you say that again? Can you say that again? Yeah. And Stephen's like, oh, Morris is writing down something Morris Morrison is writing down something that I said. And then what happens after coffee with me is I get up and I got 6 pages of notes and you're like, Morris, what? I didn't say 6 pages of notes. What'd you say? And I'm like, see, there you go, Stephen, doubting yourself again. Yeah. You don't think you said 6 pages of notes, but I heard 6 pages of notes. And pardon me for my forehead, because you're looking at my forehead as you're talking to me the whole time while I'm looking down. But if I believe that Stephen's valuable, then Stephen, you may say the next thing that changes my life. And if I humble myself and I let that in and I let it inside of me, bro, you could help me more than I came to be on your show today. But in our relationship, as we continue to grow, you're going to get to know me and my hopes and fears and everything else. And you're going to ask a question in a moment, but I'm going to end with the things I'm struggling with. That's going to be my last thing after this next question. You know why? Because I don't need them thinking that I figured some stuff out. Yeah, I figured some stuff out, but they need to know it's new levels and new devils. So I got some new things I got to figure out.
New levels and new devils.
Yeah.
This might tie into it. All right. So I know you're wildly successful in what you've done, and I'm not trying to pipe you up to this massive level because you have respectable humility as well. But it's 100 years from now, someone's telling their kids who Morris Morrison was. What do you hope they say?
First of all, that he actually believed. He was a true believer. And because he believed in that book that he read about that dude who got on that cross named Jesus, here's how it transformed everything that he did. Even when he didn't believe in himself, even when he doubted, he learned how to rise anyway. Even when he didn't feel called, when he didn't feel deserving, even when he doubted it, he did it anyway.
So you just took basically your legacy and you gave God the credit. That's what I just heard.
Yeah, I'm going to die soon. You know how I know that? Because if I'm 92 when I die over 50 years from now, I still died way too soon. And so I know that day is coming is my point. And listen, when people start to read, even if you don't believe in God and you don't read, and you just start reading history books, and you get impressed with all these people throughout history, that's a man or a woman that you're reading about from the 14th century, 16th century. And yes, they were impressive, but what does that word mean? Why are we reading about them now? We're reading about them because they were impressive, which meant they did something that made an impression on someone. Yeah. That's what the word impressive means, right? And so because of that, I believe that if we do what you started the podcast off with today which is if people find a way to learn how to be authentic, then you're really going to believe in Jeremiah 1:5, which is that God knew you before he put you in your mother's stomach. He created you for a reason. And what you'll find, Stephen, is when people actually come face to face with that thought that the God of the entire world and universe planned for you, created you, sent you here, what that means is you're his version of AI on that day. When's your birthday, by the way? What day?
June 12th.
So that means that day on June 12th when you were born, you were some piece of God's technology. I like to say it that way. He said, I want to change the world. I think I want him to be about this tall. He's going to look like this. His voice is going to sound like this. He's going to have this ability. He's going to have this nature about him. He's going to have these struggles. He's going to be a walking contradiction, but he's going to be so beautiful. But when I send him here, everything is going to change. That's how much thought God put into you. And by the way, I didn't even do it justice because I can't even get close to how he really thinks about you. Yeah. My point is, years from now, when someone mentions my name or something like that and I'm dead and gone, hopefully there will be other little Morrisons. And unfortunately, I don't know what the heck their last names are going to be because I have a daughter and it's going to be some crazy man who's got a last name not named Morrison who marries my daughter, by the way. So there's going to be kids, let me say it differently, who may not have my name, but have my blood. And there's going to be men and women out here who never met me, but their great-grandfathers and parents did. And maybe I helped them launch a business. Maybe I helped them heal their marriage. Maybe I was their uncle to London when London was resisting that one thing that her dad couldn't say to her. So I get the call from Steve and he's, yo, can you please come talk to my daughter? Yeah. She has this speech that she's got to deliver in her debate class and she won't listen to me. Morris, can you come talk to her? I need an expert. Maybe it's that speech that London gives next year at her high school that changes how her classmates look at her, which makes London feel like for the first time, a classroom of peers her age respected her because of a contribution that I helped make because you're called. And I just told her how to stand up and say, hi, my name's London. And I told her how to make a joke at the very beginning, which makes everyone laugh, which puts the audience at ease, which means now they're going to hear her speak. Listen, I just hope I don't miss these assignments, okay? Because you are going to need something from me one day. I am going to need something from you. And I just hope that I don't strike out. Because I'm thinking, I'm out of town. I'm at our mountain house this week. And sorry, Stephen, I'm not there to help London with this. But dude, I could get on a Zoom call. Like, so 100 years from now, when I'm not here, I hope somebody has a story where I pulled over on the side of the road and I welcomed the inconvenience of somebody else traveling on their journey when they were broken down. But I was the crazy guy on an interstate when everyone was going 100. Now, I would never do that if my wife and daughter's with me, by the way. That's my rule.
Yeah, that's not
I can't not pull over, though.
Yes.
Like my wife, she already knows that I could die that way one day. especially if I know it's a woman and if I see that there's not any crazy people in the woods. By the way, it's a trap. They do that. They'll put a woman on the side of the road and they'll make you pull over and then they hit you on the top of the head with a stick.
Unfortunately.
And then all of a sudden they take your watch, your car and everything else and you tied up with duct tape in the woods and you don't know what happened. And the sheriff is untying. You're like, what happened? You're like, I don't know how I got here and I don't know why I'm in my underwear right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I just pictured it in the whitey tighties, but that would be ironic. See, I learned how to do that with laughter, right? Because we talk about serious things, but we got to be able to laugh sometime because life is serious. And the idea that you're here right now, God could have chosen any time for you to be alive on this world. Back during the Romans days or 200 years from now when AI is leading everything, he could have chose any time for you to be alive. He chose for Stephen McManus to be walking this earth right now. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah. Man, all I heard was credit to God and you basically full of sacrifice and service so that you can redirect people's lives to create a new class of leaders.
And you know,
that's everything I heard.
But here's my reaction to that.
It's not about Morrison.
And it's not about because of your word choice, but I hate it that we've gotten to a point in life that when we stop and acknowledge our fellow man, serve our fellow man, we all call it sacrifice and service right now. But you know what they called it 50 years ago? They called it life.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy, to get people to stop and think about others and make room for other people in their life and everything. It's crazy that we've gotten so far off from that we have words for it now.
It was burnt in. It was built in at that point.
It's the tribe.
Yeah. But our nature is to fall away from that. Our nature is to fall away from it. How do we stay connected to that? I think we stay connected to that by having a guidebook, having a leader of all leaders who we've been talking about. Which again, I say this a lot, like in Rise of Consciousness, but like it's wild for me to hear myself even saying things like that. Because I felt so far away from God.
At one point?
My God, yeah.
You used to be somewhere else.
So now you're here. There's a gaping hole in my life of like between 15 and literally like
but it's
30s.
Also a time in your life when you didn't know what capital gains or 1031 exchange was either. Do you see that? This thing called life and progress and growth and
I know that stuff really
transformation. Well. You know that stuff like the back of your hand now. As a matter of fact, I just made some people puke because they're like, oh, I was loving it. Now they're about to start talking tax code.
We're not going to start talking about it.
But that's a part of this thing.
This is a real estate show, but we're not going to talk about it.
As we grow and we mature, we learn things. And if we're not maturing and transforming, put it this way, man, if the people closest to you every 2 to 4 years can't look up and say, you're a little different. You walk different. You talk different. You're not worried about the same things you used to worry about. You're not critical of other people like you used to be. You're a little nicer than you used to be. Yeah. You're a little smarter than you. If people can't recognize some growth in you every 2 to 4 years, then you're probably being a consumer. Because here's what I've learned. Consumers are consuming information on their phone all the time, consuming the next fancy drink or the next bite of food, the next night out on the town. See, we live in such consumption mode that we can't get to contribution mode. So we become constipated. You know why they call the Dead Sea the Dead Sea? Because water flows in, but it never flows out. Everything in your life, God meant to flow through you to somebody else. I'm not being disgusting when I say this, but when you eat a bite of pizza, there's a process called digestion. That journey starts from your hand to your mouth. Your saliva glands, they break down the tissue of the food. They break it down with enzymes, your gases, your esophagus, and the gases in your stomach, small, large intestine journey. And if it does it all the right way, in 1 to 2 days, it's no longer in your body and it goes somewhere else. That is what our gifts are supposed to be like, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Our talent, our life is supposed to be lived like you are a pass-through entity. It's supposed to flow through you. And most people just get constipated with life because we start consuming. We worry about me. Listen, do you know what saved me from that? I did not have a mom and dad once. And then a second time I lost them again. And I had to learn how to get people to stop and make eye contact with me as a kid and look at me and take me seriously. And do you know how I did that? I learned how to say, man, how you doing today? How are you doing? Can I help you with anything? Sometimes it was, can I shovel your snow? You don't have to pay me at all, but this is what I do for a business when I'm 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Can I cut your grass in the summertime? You don't have to pay me. If it's valuable, please just give me some. But if not, I'll still come back and cut it. I had to learn early because out of necessity, I needed people to need me because I had no help. But I stumbled upon the greatest secret of life early, which is that I'm here for others. Yeah. So I never really got too selfish, man. I'm a selfish person and I'm working on some of those areas of selfishness, but I never got so selfish that I didn't pick my head up and learn how to help other people.
Dang. I learned late in life and it gave me, I felt like I was completely a different person at that point. Yeah. Like I started living for real when I started living to serve other people.
That's right.
Seriously.
And guess what? My daughter, she does not have my life. She's never known life without a Mercedes in the driveway.
Yeah.
I still have to make sure that her growth process is one where she learns the same thing that me and my wife learn, but my daughter has to learn that with the care and the love of an amazing mom.
Yeah.
Lisa's amazing. She has a pretty okay dad. You know what I'm saying? I bat 200 every now and then. You know what I'm saying? My temper gets the best of me sometimes. When she leaves the toilet seat up, I hate when my daughter leaves the toilet seat up, man. Does that even make sense? I don't know why a little girl who's my daughter would leave my toilet seat up. Okay, so the truth is I'm the one leaving the toilet seat up, but I like to blame her every now and then. You know what I'm saying? And what I'm saying is
I'm like, shoot, I leave it up.
Yeah. That's how I am as a dad. I'm screaming at my wife and daughter for something.
Yeah.
Largely me to start with, because I have issues that here's seriousness. I have issues as a grown man that I'm still trying to heal from and grow through.
Yeah,
whereas my daughter has had a mom and dad loving her since day one. So she does not relate to my issues. So I have to make sure that I don't let my issues become her issues. So I want to tell her, no, you can't buy whatever you want today at Hobby Lobby. We spent $100 here yesterday. I have to learn to tell her no, but I also have to balance it out with not blocking her creative process. It's not her fault that we've taken her to Hobby Lobby on Saturdays to do projects and she has an endless budget. So I have to balance the loving because it's not her fault. It's not her fault.
We got similar daughters. We can get them together.
Get them together, man. Iron sharpens iron. You know that, right?
Proverbs.
Listen, I don't let my daughter hang with most people because I don't like most of these kids. Most of these kids, man, you know, the little hood rats.
I got a good daughter,
They're
man.
trifling.
I know
what I'm
you
saying?
do. I'm better.
Yeah, but she.
Hey, man, leave me with a nugget. What's your last thought? What's something you want folks to really hear about?
I'm a walking contradiction.
Let's hear it.
If anybody heard anything that was valuable today, that's cool. That's good. But if you heard something that was valuable today, and if you never heard from me, and if today was my last day on this earth, then man, I hope that I helped some people today. But man, if you really want to see value, just stay tuned. Follow me somehow. You don't got to buy the book. You don't have to buy anything. Maybe you see me here again, but just know I'm a walking contradiction. And somehow the more my life grows in the areas of success that people call success, the less of a Hall of Famer. God is only allowing me to see all the meat that I'm leaving on the bone and all the growth. And I got to work on my humility. I got to work on how I'm learning how to show up for other people. And I can't get comfortable, bro. And God just has me in a season where he's showing me, just like he taught me 5 years ago, I didn't understand what love was. And I started doing my homework and I started to learn how to love God and myself and others better, because there's a triangle there, you, God, and others. Now I'm learning humility and I'm learning how to let God be God and not even move my pinky at all. That's some Mr. Miyagi, like, wow, like karate stuff that, like how Mr. Miyagi would just like barely move and hurt you, right? Yeah. I'm trying to let God, Mr. Miyagi me and show me how to sit back and shut up, talk less, and let him move more. And he's patient with me. So I got a lot of room to grow, bro.
Yeah, we're always a work in progress.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm proud of you. And thanks, we're going to keep this a reoccurring thing on this show.
Let's do this.
We're just going to keep cranking out content with specific questions because I like your interview style. I believe in you. And man, I just believe that good things happen to good people. And you remind me of something in myself that my friends try to remind me. And I'm serious when I say this. Sometimes I don't really expect to win much in life. I need to get better with that. But my friends, I got good friends, and they often remind me, they say, Morris, man, you have good intentions for everybody. And you deserve for some good things to happen to you every now and then. And I don't believe that I deserve much because I believe I should serve much. Do you see the difference? I don't believe that I should deserve much. I believe I should just serve much.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I handle recognition and honor much, but I'm telling you something. When I look at you, you remind me because you actually have good intentions for others. And I'm like, how I feel about Steven is how my friends keep trying to tell me I am. And I struggle with that. So man, just through my eyes, just listen to me, bro. You got nothing but good coming your way. All right.
Thank you, brother.
Because you got good intentions for the world.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
I'm proud of you, man.
No doubt.
Morris Morrison. Dude, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate your friendship. And just, dude, we got to make sure we make this a recurring thing.
Let's got some trouble together. All right.
Love you, bro.
Love you. I mean, he knocked my watch off my arm. I told y'all he got muscles. You see that? Knocked it right off. You trying to, hey,
I was trying to give it.
You trying to steal my watch, ain't you? That was slick. I give him all this time. I try to bless him, man, trying to steal. Man, let me get out of here. I told you white people, y'all crazy, man. White people be tripping.